Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're doing our review video of the Grand Prix of St. Pete. Fortunately, it's a day behind. I apologize for that. Got busy last night, wanted to get it up today, or on Tuesday, but something came up, so I had to wait and do a Tuesday night. We're getting it out today. But anyway, what a wild first race it was. We're going to do a quick rundown of the finishing top 10. Talk a little bit about some highlights of the race, who I thought ran well, and yeah, that'll be our review of it. So, getting right into it. Winner, Marcus Ericsson. Started P4. He seems to, and really got a little, I don't know if you want to call it criticism, but all his wins have come under after red flags. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But at any rate, he qualified P4. He ran up front all day. Showed good pace. He was quick over the weekend too, so it's not like it was a shock or anything like that. Pato Award finishing P2. He qualified P3 and actually ran up front all day too. Feel terrible for him about the plenum fire with 3 laps to go. He drove what I thought was an absolutely fantastic race, certainly in the first stint, hanging on to his tires, and Colton Herta fell all the way back to him. So I thought he did a fantastic job all race long. So I know that hurts even more to lose that win like that. P3, the Iceman, Scott Dixon. I mean, he was quick all weekend and lost out in qualifying a little bit, but ended up getting all the way up to third. And really, he got kind of hosed a little bit on a stop, which I know is. It's really funny when it comes to him. He either, because of his fuel saving, he either gets it or he gets hosed on it. One of the two kind of deal. But he had a good shot. He had the yellow come out about 10 to 15 seconds later. P4, Alexander Rossi in his debut for Arrow McLaren. I know that it's a huge win for him. He didn't qualify all that terrible or anything like that and had okay pace over the weekend, but that team's still coming together. They're still learning each other. I know he's super happy with the P4. They're only going to get better, or at least the assumption is that they're only going to get better as the year goes on. So they could be very formidable once we start getting into the later rounds of the season. P5, Callum Ilott. If you watch the preview video, you know I think Callum Ilott's going to have a great year. And he came from way deep in the field. He was super happy in his post-race interview that they were not in good shape on Friday. And he just kind of said he just kept his head about him and just kind of kept the nose clean, and this is what happens. Similarly, P6, Graham Rahal started very deep in the field, very lost on Friday. He said changed the brakes before qualifying, and it seemed to work for him. I still don't think he had great pace. Again, it's a product of a lot of the chaos that happened during the race for him to get P6, but nonetheless, you keep your nose clean, you get the points. You know, good on you for that. Will Power finished P7. Okay race from Will. I don't think he really showed super great pace or anything like that. Yeah, had the incident with Colton Herta, which netted him a penalty. It was kind of a strange one. I mean, it's kind of a racing deal, but at the same time, Will did kind of throw it down the inside a little bit on Colton, and it just kind of it was like the theme of the day. It was starts and then or it was the start of the race and then restarts. They were hectic, and to be honest with you, with the competitiveness of this field, I think that on those types of tracks, that's going to be a theme that we're going to see throughout the season. So, seventh isn't terrible considering they weren't really in the game all that much, at least by their normal standards. Alex Pillow finishing P8. Kind of an interesting race for him. He was in or around the top five most of the race, and then I didn't really catch what happened to him at the end there, and where he lost out because he was actually ahead of Graham and Will. So I don't know what happened at the very end there with him, but um, okay, quiet race. Didn't really see too much of him or anything like that. I think he kind of was just motoring around, not sure exactly what his strategy was. P9 to Christian Lundgaard. Similarly, Ray Hall, Letterman, 2 cars in the top 10. Pretty quiet race from him. He said he was suffering from some issues with the car during the race too, which kind of hampered him a little bit. But I think he'll probably be pretty happy with P9 to start the season. And then finally, David Malukas, P10. Very quiet race from him. Didn't really know what he was doing, and all of a sudden, boom, there he is in the top 10. So I know for him, he'll be happy about that too. again, the theme was survival, and so the next two guys, P11 and P12, were both rookies. P11 being Marcus Armstrong. He actually was running a little farther up, and then on one of the restarts, he got tagged and cut down a right rear tire, had to go all the way around. So he had to bounce back from that. Stayed on the lead lap. So good for him because he finished all the laps, which I'm sure is more the goal for him than anything else. Than finishing in the top 10 or anything like that. It was probably about completing all the laps that he could and learn stints, all that kind of stuff like that. And then P12 to Augustine Canapino, the second Junkel Soliger car. And again, stayed on the lead lap. And not that he had great pace, but again, kept his nose clean. His goal, he said before the race, was to finish all the laps, and he did that, and I'm sure he learned a lot. He seems to be a very quick learner coming from touring cars, which is cool to see. And he even qualified fairly well. I mean, he didn't qualify last, we'll put it that way. So that's pretty impressive on his part. So those two guys I'm putting in as my outstanding drives of the day, mainly because of their status, the chaos that went on, and the fact that they were able to keep their noses clean, get to the finish, run all the laps, and stay on the lead lap. I thought was pretty impressive from the both of them. As I mentioned, the race was just chaotic beyond belief. And it started right away at the start, turn 3, which was a trouble spot all weekend for everybody. And we had the big crash there that took out a whole bunch of cars, ended up with Devlin getting flipped around as he got T-boned by Benjamin Peterson. I really don't understand what Peterson was doing there. The one caveat that reprieve I will give him is that there was a car directly to his left, and maybe he was focused on that. But I mean, there was 3 cars sitting in the middle of the track. I don't know, and he probably went through at least one yellow flag at that point. So I'm not really sure what that was about. I hope there was a talking to, or at least a conversation where he tries to give his point across, and somebody says, "Hey, like, you got to change what you're doing or whatever." But there was that. And then the other big talking point of it was two of them, I guess, the Rinus VeeKay, Jack Harvey, Kyle Kirkwood crash, where Kirkwood went flying over Jack Harvey. That was a little wild, and really that was just a product of Rinus going into the tires and the tires kind of shooting him back into the track, and then Jack and Kyle were kind of wide a little bit and just collected them. And then the big one was the Grosjean McLaughlin one. They were both battling for the lead, and Scott was not going to give up that lead. Actually, the pit stop prior to that, they had the same scenario. Different tire strategy, though, for each car, and Scott was able to hold on. So I think he was trying to do the same thing, but he wasn't on the right tire for it, pushed a little bit too hard, ended up taking both of them out, which I know Grosjean was super annoyed with, and I get that because he was unbelievably quick all weekend and was doing a great job with his tires. Scott drove a great race, too. And so I get that he wanted to get that win. I think he understands that, like I said in the preview video, that wins are going to be super important this year. And he was going for it. Unfortunately, he got going again, got a penalty. He finished, but he finished back in the pack. And that's kind of where you wonder, like, if you take a second and motor on kind of deal like that, where does that get you at the end of the season? We got a long way to go. I'm just saying, it's easy to look back at races like this where you lose a whole ton of points, where you could be like, dang, as much as I wanted that one, if I would have just conceded, where would we be? Where would we be today? So easy to look back on that. Hindsight's always 2020, right? But overall, great that the season's going again. It was an entertaining race. Survival. I mean, you do hate to see all the cars crash and everything like that, but street racing, start of the year, like I said, tight competitive field. Everybody is going to be trying so hard on these starts and restarts to get everything they can get, that I don't think this is the end of this season. I really don't. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the drivers calm down a little bit and get this sorted out, but I'm not hopeful of that. We'll see, though. At least on the street circuits, we'll put it that way. So, yeah, great start to the season. Unfortunately, we've got a long break until Texas, but we will definitely be getting the preview video out for that and see how that goes. So, everybody, as always, thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I appreciate it. I love this new idea of talking about the races and everything, and I hope you're enjoying it too. And let me know in the comments what you thought about the race, who you thought performed well, didn't perform well, what you think about the Grosjean McLaughlin crash, and we'll see you in time for Texas. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.